Rich Tehrani here with TMC. Thanks for watching. We're in San Jose today on our program. Steve Gleave, he's the VP of Marketing at Metaswitch. Steve, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Rich.
Good to see you.
Always a pleasure.
Likewise.
Thank you.
I figured we'd start at the top. I mean, your company makes an array of solutions for carriers of all sizes. What are some of the newer things that our audience should know about?
Yeah, great question. You know, I think what you have to do with the new things is put them with perspective of what Metaswitch does generally. I think we've got a reputation for doing three things really well. Switch migration, you know, taking old switches into the world of IP, next generation networks. Innovative consumer and business communication services, which are typically built on those switches. And then somewhat more recently, session border controllers. If you look at what we've been doing, it's really advancements in each of those areas. So, you know, where would the excitement be? If I start on the switch side of things, we do a lot of things now which build on a reputation that we got for what I would call sort of day two management of voice over IP infrastructure. It's easy to sell somebody a switch. It's how do they then use that switch afterwards? What are the tools that allow them to see where calls are breaking down? If they are, what do they do to prevent fraud on those networks? How can they detect sort of anomalies in calling patterns, et cetera, et cetera. If you look at the innovation side on the actual consumer and business calling services, then certainly done a lot of work lately in our soft phone area. Yes, we have a full suite of regular, if you like, business and actually residential phone services and features, but on top of that, a very sophisticated soft phone endpoint that allows you to jump between devices, you know, move calls in progress from one device to another device, move between licensed bandwidth and unlicensed spectrum, going from sort of mobile to Wi-Fi, et cetera. And then in the session control area, really taking our sort of proven distributed architecture and moving a big piece of that into the cloud and showing how that can be done as well. So you're really seeing new stuff on top of the things that Metaswitch has built a very firm and solid reputation for.
Now, one of the early things that you talked about before most other companies of your size or in your space was enabling carriers to compete more effectively in the social networking world. And I'm curious, that's such a challenging thing to do because of the dominance of Facebook and Twitter. How have carriers been doing in the last couple of years in terms of becoming more social to keep their customers using them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take that question as meaning how do they create an experience in a way that rivals what social are doing for carriers?
Sure.
Or, yeah. So it's interesting. A couple of years ago, if you'd asked me that question, I'd have said, look, I think telcos can push back with their own version of an over-the-top solution, get their customers to spend more what we'd call in-app time on a branded application that the service provider owns, sort of push back on incursions from Skype and Google and Apple. I think you've got to be realistic. You know, the reality is that not every operator is going to be able to do that. The speed of innovation in the end devices, the speed of innovation with the over-the-top type of applications. You know, Viber can launch a new application and get 38 million downloads in like 12 months for a free calling service. You see so much innovation in that area that I think it's a bit foolish to assume that a telco can suddenly not only compete with that, but actually just sort of go straight past that. So really what we're about is creating immersive communications experiences for the customer bases that the telco really dominates. So I think there are two areas where a telco is really strong. One is traditionally in selling enterprise type of solutions. So as enterprises go from equipment-owned to hosted business solutions, yeah, they expect all of the features that they got on their PBXs and their key systems. Yeah, you know, all of that is going to be in there by default. But they want to also have an environment which brings immersive communications to bring your own devices, smartphones, tablets, the ability to push calls onto desk phones, pull calls from desk phones, do all of that. So helping them deliver a more feature-rich environment for business customers. And then I think for consumers, I mean, consumers will always pick best of class services for things that it is that they want to do. And if they want to make calls on Skype or whatever, they're going to do that. I think that the telco's role is to make the home phone service still valid and relevant in a way that consumers can say, yeah, I'm willing to stay with the phone company for that service. And what do I mean by that? You know, soft phones that travel with you when you go that allow you to replicate the home number so that if I'm in a foreign country, I could still answer the home phone. Maybe somehow linking the home number to like a mobile phone presence type of feature, whereby when I'm in and around the home, my cell phone rings as well, kind of like, yes, I'm in that environment, but I may want to answer it on my mobile phone. So I think that the telco has to do two things. It's deliver the right infrastructure, which is a whole separate conversation, but on top of that, it's deliver features and deliver immersive telephony in an environment that customers that it satisfies well want to actually buy, not to try and push back from the guy who just upgrades his iPhone every 4 months because a new one's coming out.
Are there any other opportunities that carriers should be focusing on, or even challenges that Metaswitch helps them solve?
Yeah, we often tell, we tell a lot of our customers, which is, we have a big install base of carriers in the US, and then we're sort of growing that outside of the US over the last few years. We tell these guys, look, to stay relevant, you kind of need a bit of a 5-step plan, really. First of all, you've got to deliver the broadband. I think that the perception of broadband is still unmatched. A lot of our telco customers are the economic engines of their communities. They've delivered services there for a long time. Deliver broadband, deliver it fast, both speed-wise and also availability-wise. Own that. Own the connectivity to your anchor institutions, your libraries, your schools, your hospitals. If there's wholesale opportunities to backhaul bandwidth for mobile operators in your area, if you don't own spectrum yourself, do that. Verticalize your offerings so that you've got an offering for different types of businesses, different vertical segments. And then when you've got all that in place, then let's put the applications, if you like, as the flowers on the roots of that broadband network that you've built. So, I don't think it's all about always having the most compelling end user service for telcos. Yes, that's important in the ways we've just discussed, but also what's equally important is get that core infrastructure built, because at the end of the day, that's something you do really well, and it's a fundamental part of the business and the communities that they're in.
So Metaswitch is in a number of different markets, and there are other telecom players that play in similar markets. No one's exactly like your company, but you've got companies like Alcatel-Lucent, you've got companies like Genband, then you compete with companies that make maybe one or two pieces of what you do, like a Sonis or like an Acme Pack. And the question that I'd like you to answer for anyone who's watching right now and is trying to figure out whether they should purchase from Metaswitch or some of the other companies is, why Metaswitch?
Sure, yeah, I think if you look at the 3 areas that I talked about at the start, I can cover it off in those. So when you go to Class 5 or Class 4 switch migration, this is something that Metaswitch has been doing for 10 years. We've got the best tools in the industry for managing those solutions and managing that migration. It's something that we can help with soft switches and media gateways, or of course a relevant path to IMS if that's what the service provider is looking for. When it comes to business services and consumer services that you would put on top of that IP infrastructure, for years we have delivered all of the telephony features, not like the top 10 or the top 15, but features that some people will never have heard of if they haven't happened to have lived in certain locations. So that, with the innovation around our soft phone telephony feature set as well, and that immersive multimedia, I think that's something that's really unique to Metaswitch. And then when you come to session control, and then at the end of the day, we plonked down and said, look, the way the industry is going is a separation between signaling and media. They're scaling at different rates. You need to have that separation. Yes, we have an integrated appliance, but we see a lot of the value in this as you look at VoLTE, as you look at people joining networks at the IP level now, not the TDM level. Then you're going to need scalable solutions that look different to the integrated appliances that are out there. Take pieces of that, stick it in the cloud. We think we do that better than anybody else out there right now.
Great, thanks for being on the program.
Thank you,
Rich.
It's great. All the best.